Tiger fans, what's going on, guys? For the first time in a long time, we have playoff preview videos where I'm not talking about other teams. I'm actually talking about our very own Detroit Tigers who are going to the playoffs. They clinched Friday. They got it done. It was actually kind of anticlimactic. In my last video, I was worried that they might blow it, with only having Tampa Bay and the White Sox left. I said all they needed to do was go 4-2, 3-3. They ended up going 3-3. They took 2 or 3 from, or no, they swept Tampa, and then they went 4-2. So they swept Tampa, and then clinched it because the Twins absolutely. I kind of got a kick out of Rocco Baldelli. He was like, we're playing to win out and see what the other teams do, and the Tigers end up going 4-2, and the Twins ended up losing that night because they were playing the Marlins, and it was kind of anticlimactic because the Twins lost a couple to the Marlins, and the Tigers swept Tampa, and then took that first game against Chicago on Friday, and it was over with. So what I was thinking, it was going to be please don't blow it. It was not that dramatic whatsoever. They clinched. And then they ended up losing the last 2 games of the White Sox. They got shut out the day after. Horrible weather that day at Comerica Park, so I didn't really care too much they lost that game. Also, the quote-unquote hangover game. And then they lost 9-5 the last game of the season. It would have been nice to see them win one of the last 2 games because now we get into the crux of the video, the playoff preview. I'm not going to lie, guys. I really wanted them to face Baltimore more than I wanted them to face Houston. With Baltimore, the Tigers have already faced Baltimore twice in the last 4 weeks. They took the series the last 2 times against them. They had got Corbin Burns, but Tarek Skubal had yet to pitch in those 2 series against the Orioles. And it would have been Burns and Tarek Skubal game 1, and that's a toss-up game because you got ace for ace, pitch for pitch. And it would have been a right-hander on the mound, so the Tigers could have, stacked all their best lefties against Burns yet again. The results so far against him weren't great, but I would have liked my chances a little bit more. And, I know the Orioles have started to play a little bit better here the last couple of days of the season. They put some runs up, whatnot, on the Yankees, but Houston is a different beast when it comes to the playoffs. Houston got out to an absolutely horrific start this year. Seattle had at one point a 10-game lead on them in the West, and Seattle ended up blowing that lead. And Houston came through and ended up winning the division yet again. For I don't know how many straight years they've won it, or how many times in the last 7 years they've won it. They won it a bunch. I mean, would have been 7 straight ALCSs. The Tigers' chances going into this series, you're going up against a proven playoff team, a team that didn't start good this year and came back and won the division, a team that has a proven track record in the playoffs, and a team with really good pitching. It's going to be a battle for this Tigers team to go into Houston for 3 games and take 2 or 3 to move on, and hopefully we can go to a Tigers home playoff game because that crowd was electric on Friday night. It was absolutely insane when they were making their comeback to beat the White Sox on Friday night, and I want to hear that in a home playoff game. I want to go to a home playoff game. But looking at this team, so obviously we'll go through their lineup here. Yanir Diaz had a good year this year. He hit .299, 16 homers, 84 RBIs, 325 on base, 118 OPS plus. Jonathan Singleton, he's okay. Ain't nothing special. Jose Altuve, 34 years old, 295, 350 on base, 126 OPS plus, 20 homers, 65 RBIs. Jeremy Pena this year, 15 homers, 70 RBIs. He had an okay year, exactly league average player. Alex Bregman, 26 homers, 75 RBIs, 118 OPS plus. Kyle Tucker was hurt for a good chunk of this year. He actually was on my fantasy team, and he had some kind of shin contusion, and it made him miss like almost 3 months. But in 78 games, 23 home runs, 289, 181 OPS plus. And then you got Yordan Alvarez, 35 homers, 86 RBIs, 308, 392, 567 slash with a 172 OPS plus. It's just an absolutely insane uh, year from that guy, and he's so freaking good. He's absolutely insane. And then you look at their bullpen or their starting rotation. Framber Valdez, another good year. Hunter Brown had his breakout year. He had a 3.49 ERA, 170 innings pitched, but that's not conducive to how actually good or indicative of how actually good Hunter Brown was. Hunter Brown was really bad to start the year, and I ended up picking him up. I had him on my team for a little while. And Hunter Brown, Michigan native, Wayne State native, I want to say too. Or no, he was a St. Clair Shores native. Excuse me. Uh, his second half, I don't have the numbers right in front of me. His second half was absolutely outstanding, and he's a hell of a pitcher. Ronald Blanco, he's faced the Tigers a couple times this year, and he was tough on the Tigers. Absolutely stud pitcher. And Spencer Arrighetti, 4.53 ERA, but he really started to figure out in the second half too. He had some really good starts in August. And Justin Verlander, he might not even make the playoff roster because he had been so bad. I watched his last start against Cleveland on Sunday. Jose Ramirez hit him for a 2-run shot. Jose Ramirez has owned him. Verlander, but he's had mixed success. You know, he got a 5.48 ERA and 90 innings pitched. Only 74 strikeouts, you know, which is, if that was prime JV, 74 strikeouts, he would have had 120 strikeouts in 90 innings pitched. And then you go to their bullpen. Hader, Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley. And they still got Yusei Kikuchi, too. They just traded for him. Hector Neris. They have so much relief pitching, and their starting pitching is really good. Which, you know, it's going to be tough, man. This is why I wanted Baltimore. Because all the Tigers' best hitters, for the most part, are left-handed. And you look at their right-handed hitting options, Spencer Torkelson, you can't rely, this guy has a hard time stringing together good games, 3 good games in the regular season. You're going to tell me when the games count the most, when you only have 3 shots, and you're done after 2. I mean, you can get swept like that. It's just the best 2 out of 3. You're telling me when the lights are the brightest that this guy is going to come up and he's going to ball out for 2 to 3 games and help the Tigers, you know, offset some of their really good left-handed pitching? I don't know. I don't know if he can be trusted. Jake Rogers, Dylan Dingler, neither one of those guys have really hit much this entire season, especially Dingler, so you can't really trust them to help offset. Matt Vierling, I don't think he's had practically no power in the second half, so I don't know. You can't really trust him to offset their really good left-handed pitching as a right-handed hitter. Justin Hunter Malloy can't hit worth a shit. I don't know. You can't really trust him to offset really good left-handed pitching. All their best hitters are left-handed. Parker, Riley, Kerry Carpenter. I mean, all their guys are their best hitters are left-handed hitters, and they have left-handed relief arms to come in and can offset you as well. It's going to be the Houston Astros are extremely tough draw for this Tigers team. And for them to try to get 2 out of 3, you know, it's going to be super tough with how good that Astros team is, how they can pitch you to death. And really, and I said this in my last video when they had clinched when they were about to clinch the playoff spot, this Tigers team really isn't anything that special when it comes to an offensive lineup. If you're being realistic and you're being real, and giving a real non-biased evaluation, this Tigers team really isn't anything that special when it comes to offensive hitters. You know, you have a few guys in there that can hit the ball and hit some home runs. Yeah, sure, your Carries, your Riley Greens, Torkelson can hit a home run here and there. You know, Colt Keith can flash power, Parker Meadows can flash power, but you don't look at that lineup and they don't have a Kyle Tucker. They don't have a Yordan Alvarez. They don't have a Jose Altuve. They don't have a lineup that you look, 3-4 spots in that lineup. You're like, damn, I don't want to face them with guys on base. It's a pitchable lineup. The reason for the Tigers' success is this bulk slash opener pitching thing that they're doing with the lack of starters that they have. They're pitching everybody to death. They're holding everybody to 2 to 4 runs a game, and the offense is coming up with one big inning a game or two big innings a game just to scratch across 4, 5, 6 runs. Over a couple innings span where they just chip while their team, their starting pitching slash bulk guys keep them in just enough to give them opportunities to come up and chip away and get big hits, which is why they had that 31-11 streak. Because with like the hits like what Parker Meadows has, and then like Bo Brisky comes in Baltimore with 2 on and no out and gets those 3 outs and allows the Tigers to come up with big hits in the 10th, to chip away and to get some timely hits, and their bullpen holds the lead. That's been the whole reason for this success. Timely hits. The bulk guys have been outstanding. The back end of the bullpen has been extremely stingy, and they played good defense. Their team has not slugged anybody to death. They're not steamrolling teams. They're not coming out scoring 7, 8, 9, 10 runs. It's not. It's been pitching matchups with Hinch coming out with key pinch hit at bats, putting guys in and playing guys where they succeed. A pinch hits Torque for Carpenter and Carpenter for Justin Henry Malloy. Doing stuff like that. And all 3 of them worked out, exactly how he wanted. That's how they've done this. So now to match up against Houston with that team, that lineup, that pitching, I don't want to say there's no chance, because the Tigers have come. This Tigers team, this 31-11, that seemed like no chance. To have the best record in baseball for a 7-week stretch, that seemed like no chance. They've beaten good teams. They've pitched teams to death. They've come up with big hits when they needed to have big hits. In baseball, any team can beat any team on any given day. The Tigers could come out tomorrow, which, by the way, it's bullshit that the Tigers, just because it's the Tigers facing Houston, the Tigers get all the fucking day games where we can't watch any of these next 3 games, potential 3 games, because they're all day games, because they're going to cater to all the other fucking wild card teams. Even though the best pitching matchup by far tomorrow is Tarek Skubal and Framber Valdez. It's so bullshit we're getting screwed on that aspect of it, to where I can only listen to the game on the radio. I can't watch it because I'll be at work. So, we don't get to see the playoffs for 10 years, and the MLB is like, yeah, well, guess what? You're still not going to see them again this year if they don't make it out of the wild card round, because you get all day games, and they screw us Tiger fans over. But they've beaten good teams. They've defied where they've gone in and played these teams like, they almost get swept by San Diego, but Parker Meadows has that home run, and they had that game where they blew it, where they got 4 runs real quick, and it seemed like, they were going to take a series from San Diego. And they beat Baltimore twice in 2 weeks, and they swept Kansas City. They did everything they needed to do, and they put up wins when it mattered. I mean, this whole stretch, when you go from that many games under 500, that many games back, and you put yourself in a spot that you're in the playoffs, that you capitalize on Minnesota's collapse, and you capitalize, on your opportunities, and just string together all these wins. The Tigers right now, with how good their pitching is, they can pitch with anybody, and they can beat anybody on any given day right now, because their pitching gives them a chance. The whole matchup thing, how Hinch is doing these bulk relievers and utilizing all these guys, it gives them a chance to at least hold games close. My main concern is how are the Tigers going to be able to offset all these good left-handed pitchers that Houston has, when the bulk of their good hitters, are left-handed hitters? How are these guys going to be able to offset that? And how are they going to be able to put up enough runs late in games when it starts to get into the pen part of it, where the Astros have a really good pen? When it starts to get to the bullpen part of it, how are they going to be able to put up enough runs, get enough key hits, and string them together, and hopefully you're within a couple of runs to beat a team like Houston in Houston, who's been really good since June or early July, whatever it was, when Seattle started to collapse. It's an uphill battle, guys, and I don't want to sit here and poo-poo and be like, oh, well, the Tigers don't stand a chance, and, it's over. They're going to get swept in 3 games or 2 games. Listen, it's a possibility. I'm not going to bullshit you that, no, it don't matter if they're being counted out. They've been counted out all season, and they've been counted out over this stretch run, and they won all these games over this span of 7 weeks, blah, blah, blah. It's a legitimate concern. This is why I wanted to play Baltimore, because Baltimore, the Tigers have already beaten them twice in the last 3 weeks in a series. They are familiar with those pitchers. They've gotten to that bullpen. They've shut that offense down. Besides that one game where Kyler Montero gave up like 13 home runs. But every other game besides that, they've shut their offense down for the most. They almost perfect or no hit them in Comerica Park. That's why I wanted to face Baltimore. It was an easier cushion to fall on than Houston. But them losing those last 2 games to Chicago really hurt them, because they had a chance to, if they had a chance to seal this. They could have won. If they would have won Saturday, they would have sealed it. If they would have won yesterday, they would have sealed it. But they didn't. They lost the last 2 games to a team that was historically bad, one of the worst teams of all time, worse than the '03 Tigers. So it's going to be tough, guys. It really is. This series. I really hope my concerns about the series are dead wrong, and I hope that this time next week I'll be in Michigan, and I'll be hanging out with my brother, making a video with him talking about the next round of the playoffs or the division series, and we're up there talking about how they outpitched Houston and how they played solid defense, and Hinch yet again coming back home to Houston where he won a World Series with them. This time there'll be no trash cans in the dugout when he's with the Tigers, so the Tigers won't have that advantage, unlike Houston did in 2017. But they'll be talking about how they beat Houston and how they pitched them to death, and they had Parker Meadows robbed a home run and that absolute crazy rally in the 7th inning to come back down from 3 to take the lead. And Jason Foley came out and shut the 9th inning down in 10 pitches. That's what I'm hoping I'm talking about next week at this time. I'm hoping that I'll be able to go to Detroit and see a playoff game. I'm hoping that my next video isn't, hey, it was a great season, they finally made it to the playoffs. Houston was a tough first round get, but they're the Houston Astros and they're a battle-tested team. I'm hoping that's not the case. But I'm not going to come on here and tell you guys it's all butterflies and rainbows when that team is a scary team. Now, the one nice thing is the Tigers and Hinch, nobody is going to be off limits right now. If you have 3 games and Hinch is going to be winning, Terrascuba has a bit of a leash. He's earned that. He's your Triple Crown Cy Young winner. That's fine in game 1. But the last 2 games, if there is a last 2 games, Hinch is going to be everybody, all hands on deck. It don't matter if you pitched yesterday. It don't matter if you threw 25 pitches the day before. Hinch is going to throw his best lefties at Houston's best lefties. He's going to put his best guys against Houston's righties. These guys are probably going to face pockets of 3 to 4 hitters at a time. And that's it. They're going to be in and out. And it's going to be inning by inning by inning. Hinch is going to piece this together 2 innings at a time, 1 inning at a time, and he's going to piece it together versus off what his data says, versus off what his matchup sheet says, and what they determined as a staff and as an organization, what pockets of hitters they want these guys to face, what pockets of hitters these guys, well, he's going to try to get his bulk guys in to get the most length out of it so he can get into his back inning guys with Holton, Brisky, Vest, Foley. When he can bring in Hannafy and Gunther to get a couple 6 outs over 2 innings. Everybody is going to be on deck, and everybody is going to be used, and Hinch is going to be doing an absolute game of chess to try to offset this Houston lineup, to try to give his offense enough of a chance to scratch across, enough runs to counteract what Houston is going to be, which is going to be tough. It's going to be tough to beat that team. It's going to be tough to go into Houston for potentially 3 games to try to shut that team down and hopefully muscle across enough runs to beat them and their pitching hold up enough. Another thing that's got me a little bit worried too is that this is a first-time playoff team. I think there's only 2 guys on this entire playoff roster that has playoff experience. It was from what I believe the Bally Bar said. And I don't even know offhand who those 2 guys are. I can't even think of it because most of these guys on this team are all, it's got to be relievers who has Kenta Maeda's got to be one because Kenta Maeda was a Minnesota Twin, and I didn't even know who. I couldn't even begin to tell you who the second guy is. So you have a first-time playoff team, a bunch of young guys where the intensity is turned up. These guys are all going to the playoffs for the first time together. It could go one of two ways. You know, the intensity and the adrenaline and the first time being there, these guys could go out there and absolutely destroy expectations. Or it could be, you know, they go out there and the stage is a little too bright right now and these guys really don't know what to expect and the game speeds up and there's stupid errors. You know, some of these guys might go out there a little amped up and pitch and their commands off because they're pitching in a playoff game for the first time and they're just out there trying to nut up and muscle up and blow past guys and, you know, they just all this excitement and adrenaline and, you know, it just gets away from them. Because in a 3-game set, everything is amplified. I mean, you can't come back tomorrow and erase a mistake from today most times, especially if you're already down 1-0. You're down 1-0 in that series. I mean, game 1 is your most pivotal game. I think if the Tigers stand a chance in hell at bouncing them out, Terrascuba has to win tomorrow and give you a window of opportunity, a little bit of a cushion, to where if they win game 2, you can come out game 3 and absolutely empty the tank, full force. Everybody just go out there. You could go a reliever an inning and absolutely pitch them to absolute death. That last game of the series, match up the shit out of everybody, and just hope your team doesn't have to scratch and runs across to beat them and move on. So, my prediction is for this series, I think it's going to be Houston in 3. I think the Tigers are going to go to the 3rd game of this. I think they're going to take one game of this series. I think it's going to be the Scooble game, but I think Houston's pitching at the end of the day is going to overcome, is going to be able to tame the Tigers' bats. Tigers have a lot of young guys. I think the lights might be a little bit too bright for some of them. First-time playoff team, but I think it's going to be Houston in 3. Tigers do win a game, but they don't get blown out any of those games. I think all the games are going to be decided by 3 runs or less in all 3 games, and it's going to be a good series. The Tigers aren't going to be embarrassed. They're going to go out there and hold their own. But I do think that Houston is going to get back to the ALCS this year because I think the 2 teams you don't want to play this year is Houston and Cleveland. Because those teams, especially Cleveland's bullpen after like 6 innings, I think they're almost nearly undefeated for the entire year. If Cleveland has a lead after 6 innings, I think they've only got like 2 or 3 losses all season. Their bullpen is absolutely insane. And I think in a playoff series where you only need your starters to go 4-5, they're not a team you want to face this postseason. So I honestly think it's going to be Houston and Cleveland. One of those two teams are going to match up sometime in this postseason. So that's all I got for you guys today. What's your predictions? Do you guys think the Tigers are going to be able to beat the Astros? Do you guys think Houston's going to take it? Do you think the Tigers are just a little too young, a little too soon to overtake them? Or do you think the Astros are slipping, the Tigers' pitching is good enough, and they'll hit just enough to surpass them and bounce to the ALDS? I hope so, guys. Like I said, I want to be here next week talking about ALDS. I want to be here next week saying, hey, I'm going to the Tigers game. I'm going to skip work. I'm going to go to the fucking Tigers game. I'm going to Comerica Park in October. I ordered my October Ready t-shirt. I don't care. I want a new t-shirt from this decade that says Tigers Baseball postseason on it because all my t-shirts are from 2011, 2012, 2013. They're all fucking old. I wanted something new. So, what do you think, guys? Tigers take it or Houston's got it? Have a good one, guys. Go Tigers.